First, the mission centralized talent by relying them around a grand ambition, exactly in the way John McAfee did with his coining of the phrase artificial intelligence. The most successful founders do not set out to create companies. Altman reflected on his blog in 2013. They are on a mission to create something closer to a religion. And at some point, it turned out that forming a company is the easiest way to do so.
Okay, so again, they started off as an idealistic mission, but now its main focus is to become an empire. And there are three ways in which it is trying to become an empire. First of all, it's trying to be a religion, because as Sam Altman, who's now the leader of OpenAI, says, if you really want to change the world, if you really want to build an empire, you need to start a religion. And so a company is just a vessel in which to incubate this religion, okay? So one, it's a religion. Second thing about OpenAI and other AI companies is that it is focused on relentless expansion. And that means building data centers everywhere and anywhere. Okay, so OpenAI wants about $1 trillion to build lots of data centers around the world. Because if you really want AI to be successful, you have to first conquer the world, okay? So it's not really about making AI safe for humans. It's about making the world safe for AI, all right? To make basically humans slaves to AI. That's the second thing. And the third thing is, and this is the most important, is they refuse to define what artificial intelligence is. They're constantly changing the definition of AGI in order to better control the world, okay? And we'll see what this means later on, okay? Can you read this paragraph, Alan?
My conversation with Brockman and Xueqin continued in circle until we ran out the clock after 45 minutes. I tried with little success to get more concrete details on what exactly they were trying to build, which by nature they explained they couldn't know. And why then, if they couldn't know, they were so confident it would be beneficial?
Okay, so this is a really huge problem. You know, so Karen Howe is a reporter. She was working for the Technology Review at MIT. In 2019, she goes to Silicon Valley and she meets with Brockman and Xueqin, who are the two main scientists behind the OpenAI project. And the first question she's going to ask, and anyone should ask, is, what is AGI? What is AI? What are you trying to build? And they could not answer that question. Okay? And it's not because they don't know, it's because the truth is too scary. And what we're going to do is figure out what the truth is. What is AI? What is artificial intelligence? What is AGI? And the answer, of course, is it's God. What Brockman and Xueqin could not tell Karen Howe is that we're trying to create God, because that is insane, evil, and stupid. But if you look at what they're doing, that's exactly what they're trying to do, okay? All right, so what I'm going to do now is really quickly, all right, explain to you what AI is. And to understand what AI is, let's go back to the year 1966. And in the year 1966, a man named Joseph Weizenbaum, who was at MIT, he created something called a chatbot, which is basically ChatGPT. And it calls it ELISA, okay? And he's trying to prove to people how easy it is to fool people into believing that AI can actually think for itself, okay? So he creates this computer, and you sit down with this computer and you ask it questions, and then it talks to you. It's not really talking to you. It's a program designed to fool you to believe that it's sentient, okay? So the conversation goes like, Elisa says, is something troubling you? And you're like, men are all alike. What is connection, do you suppose? They're always bugging us about something or other. Can you think of a specific example? Well, my boyfriend made me come here. Is it important to you that your boyfriend made you come here? He says I'm depressed much of the time. I'm sorry to hear that you're depressed. So it sounds as though they're having a real conversation, but what Weizenbaum did, and this is again in 1966 when they didn't have that much technology and processing power, it's all just a very simple trick, okay? And like, so let's do a thought experiment where I design a program software, okay? And all it's saying is, tell me more. Or, this is interesting. Okay? This is it. Tell me more, this is interesting. Okay? And so what's going to happen is that we're going to set up a thought experiment where you call into a psychology hotline. And in the psychology hotline, you think you're talking to a person, but it's actually a computer program that says two things. Tell me more. This is interesting. Okay? So you call the hotline, you say, help, I'm in a lot of trouble. Tell me more. Oh, my boyfriend broke up with me. This is interesting. Yeah, he's a jerk. Tell me more. Yeah, we've been fighting for 5 months. Okay, you keep on going. And the question is, how many people will be fooled into believing that this is a real person? And the answer is, unfortunately, quite a lot of people. Okay? So this is a very interesting aspect of humans where we often hallucinate reality. Okay? It is not that things are real, it's that we want them to be real. So think of hypnosis. I'm not sure if you've been to a magic show where people conduct hypnosis, right? Well, why does hypnosis work? Because the audience wants it to work. If you go in skeptical and says this is all complete nonsense, it probably will not work on you. But you're not going to pay $100 to go to a hypnosis show and think it doesn't really work, because why would you pay the $100, okay? All right, so it's almost like sunk cost fallacy. And again, this is all using just basic human psychology to trick people into believing something that is not true. Okay? Does that make sense, guys? All right, so let me explain to you how OpenAI works, ChatGPT works. All right. Okay. So ChatGPT is what we call a large language model. Okay? So in other words, what it's trying to do is trying to trick you, the user, into believing that it knows what it's talking about. Okay, and how it works is basically it takes all of the internet, okay? Right? All data from the internet, and then it translates it into a idea. Okay, so you ask, you query the LLM then takes a query and then figures out the information from the internet and then presents it into a paragraph that tries to trick you into believing that it is true. Okay, do you understand? All right, so in other words, it's actually no different from a Google search. The only difference is that it's taking the Google search, figuring out what the most popular answer is, and then presenting it to you in a way that makes you think that it's talking to you directly. All right? The trick, and this is really important to understand, guys, is it's trying to trick you. All right? It's not trying to teach you, it's not trying to tell you the truth, it's trying to trick you into believing it. That's what we call a hallucination. Okay? You guys have to understand this idea. There's nothing truthful about what ChatGPT says. All it's trying to do is trying to manipulate you with words, with pretty words, into believing that it knows what it's talking about. But it itself cannot judge what it's doing. Okay? All right. Any questions so far? Are we clear? Okay. All right. So now the question is, how does it do that? Okay? And so I'm going to teach you a little bit about artificial intelligence. And please stop me if I'm not being clear about how AI works, okay? All right, so AI doesn't exist. What exists is what we call supervised machine learning. This is the technical term, okay? All right, supervised machine learning, okay? And how it works is this. Before, how computer programs would work is we would write the program, the algorithm, and then we would give it the input, and it would produce the output, okay? So the algorithm may be A plus B. We give the input 1, 1. The output will be 2. Okay, very simple. How supervised machine learning works is, okay, this is fine for simple problems, but there's certain hard problems that humans cannot figure out, okay? And one hard problem is the idea of facial recognition technology. Facial recognition. How do I separate faces? Okay? And so the problem is this. I have about 1 million faces. 1 million faces in a database. Okay? And I don't know how I can best differentiate these faces. Now, what I do know is that there are certain characteristics about the face that allows me to differentiate, okay? All right, so certain variables, weights. Okay, so for example, eye. For example, nose, chin, okay? About 1 million, okay? About 1 million weights. So I know these things do matter, but I don't know how much they matter. So I'm trying to figure out what the weighting is. And I could try to play by myself, like say 1%, 2%, 5%. But as you can imagine, this will take too long because there are too many possibilities. So what I do is this. I let the computer figure out it by itself. I let the computer figure out the weighting by itself. Okay? And the way I do that is using my technique called back propagation. All right. So I control the input. Okay? The input. Then I control the output. Yes or no. Okay. All right? So does the face match or does it not match? And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to figure out a situation in which all million faces are matched perfectly. And I do that by training the computer to constantly backpropagate until it gets the weighting perfectly. Okay? So basically, what I'm trying to do, if you understand how this works, is I'm trying to turn each face into a distinct mathematical model. All right? That is unique to it. Okay, does that make sense? All right, so it's pretty simple. It's not doing that much. But to make it sound really fancy, I give it really fancy names to trick people to believe that this is actually much more sophisticated than it is, okay? So what names do I give it? This weighting system, I call it a neural network, guys. It's a brain. It's magic, okay? And backpropagation, I don't call it backpropagation, I call it deep learning. You see? And I don't call it supervised machine learning, I call it AI. There you go. Magic, you see? All I've done is taking a very simple process and giving it like a really, really fancy names. The question is like, why do I do that? And some people will say, oh, it's for marketing purposes. It's to get more money from investors. It's to trick people. No, no, no. The real reason is you're trying to, with these names, create God, okay? It's what we call the occult. So the AI is fundamentally an occult practice, and I'll show you why in a moment, okay? Yeah, you have